But in preparing for this, I'll tell you, Googling commencement speeches is kind of like Googling LASIK surgery. You come out more terrified than when you went in. Graduation speeches are iconic, like Jim Carrey or Steve Jobs, or they're really, really bad, like life advice Tourette's. I'm sure I'm going to land somewhere in the middle on this, but hopefully it will feel better than having your eyeballs flexed out. My story is a bit unconventional, as most tech entrepreneurs don't start out as newspaper majors at the University of Georgia. What's perhaps even more interesting is that I majored in journalism on the advice of my dad, who's a biotech entrepreneur. He said the ability to clearly communicate in both the written and spoken word is a disappearing art. And that anything you do professionally comes down to being able to understand and communicate with all different kinds of people. Being able to transform ideas into stories that ignite other people's imagination and passion. That gets them invested in things that you care about. Grady grads can run circles around business majors and pretty much any other major when it comes to connecting with an audience, bringing an idea to life, and most importantly, making people care. And that matters more than just about anything when you get outside these walls, no matter what career you choose. J-School prepares you for life and work in some really unexpected ways. So when Dean Davis asked me to do this, I took a look back at some of the things I learned here and was surprised to see how many of them applied to my own life and career, even though I never set out to be a newspaper man. So today I'd like to share those with you, and I'll try to keep the threats to a minimum. Number one, if your lead sucks, it really doesn't matter. It's the quintessential rule of news reporting. But it turns out it's helped me immensely in my life as an entrepreneur as well. One of the companies I co-founded is called Cabbage, and our business in a nutshell allows small businesses to get capital, much needed capital, online almost instantly. To date, we raised over $100 million. And I'll tell you this, the first round of financing we raised was $1.5 million. It took us over 18 months to do it, which is a long time. And it was incredibly hard because we had nothing but an idea. Most days we pitched with blank stares across the table. And I'm pretty sure I saw one guy fall asleep. It was pretty awful. And one day, another entrepreneur friend of mine introduced me to a storyteller working in the startup space. She told us to stop pitching and start telling a story. And so we threw out our boring and hideous, I might add, PowerPoint deck and crammed with text and overhyped stats. And nobody could process. And we started leading with a story about Bill, a small business owner who can't get a fair shake from Rich, the stereotypical big bad banker, who only sees Bill as a credit score. We told it with cartoons, and we told it with heart. And after the audience cared about Bill, only then did we start showing how many Bills there are out there. Creating a story that people cared about literally made the difference in $100 million in funding. And it's an investment in time and money that most entrepreneurs don't see the value in, but it's been invaluable to me. So no matter what you're pitching, lead with something personal. Lead with something human. Make people care. Be a storyteller. Number two, ask great questions. Now, I'm going to lose my Gen X membership card if I don't get nostalgic at least once. So when I was here, I had one of the finest professors ever to teach at Grady, a guy named Conrad Fink. And he was tough, mean, loud, witty, supportive, funny, and he had the bushiest eyebrows that you had ever seen in your life. I mean, it's casting shadows that scare small children and bushy. I'll tell you about one class I had here with him, and I can't even tell you why I remember it so vividly, but one day in class, someone asked Professor Fink what the future of the news business looked like. He walked to the whiteboard and he drew this big circle. And then he told us this was the inside of a pipe. And then he drew these little filled-in circles inside the big circle. He said these were little pipes. And he said one day everything we needed would be brought in our homes and devices on those pipes. And it would come in fast. He told of a day in the future when we would chat with a snap. He didn't really say that. But he was right about the rest of it. And the internet has fundamentally transformed the news business in ways no one, not even Conrad Fink, could have imagined. But predictions aren't really the point. Asking the right questions is the point. That question in the whiteboard drawings that answered it shaped and ignited my imagination what ultimately become my career path. Questions create businesses and careers. At Cabbage, we've asked what would happen if you combined two completely dissimilar businesses, a bank and eBay. Who asked those questions? That question gave birth to a company and now puts out over $1 billion worth of loans every year. So what questions are you asking? Any of us can make predictions about the future. I can tell you the types I see on the whiteboard right now. Blurred lines between mobile devices and wearable computing in the next 10 years will be astonishing. Electric self-driving cars could radically change the physical infrastructure of the country. My daughter Lily down there is 10 years old. She certainly will want to drive when she turns 16. But what happens when her kids turn 16? I really wonder if my daughter's daughter will have to learn to drive at all. Will she get the chance to meet a date at a coffee shop or a football game? As a dad, I can only have faith that we've evolved beyond swiping right by the time my kids get into college. But I don't know. More than anything, I'm just curious to see how it all shakes out. That's something that we have in common, you and me. Everyone graduating from this school has a natural curiosity. Follow it. Ask great questions. Don't waste time trying to look smarter than you are. You don't have to have all the answers. Just focus on asking really great questions. Number 3, create your own nut graph. Do you guys really still say that? Is that still a thing? No? Yeah. He thought it was. When I got out of here, my dad said something else that sticks with me today, and honestly, me and my friends' parents were flat horrified with it. I will get stuff thrown at me when I said it. He said, don't get a job. Find a deal. Now, while starting companies is definitely the context that I took this in, it applies to everyone. Don't get a job. Find a deal. What's your deal? What's your unique voice and path? Write it down. Create your own net graph and follow it. What's most important? You are. Actually, you're all millennials. I don't even have to tell you what's important. You already know that. I mean, who the hell really wants to work for somebody else anyway? Nobody wants to be told what to do. They want to own it. Sure, you're going to have a boss, an editor, a client, a publisher, an investor. We are all accountable to somebody. But no matter what career path you embark on after you leave here, you don't work for them. You work for you. You work for the betterment of yourself. So don't get a job. Find your deal. Number 4, you're only as good as your sources. When you're getting a job, don't just think you're getting a job. Think you're getting keys to the whole damn building. It's not enough to connect with your boss or your immediate team. You need to make connections with people on the other side of the office. Talk to people in the break room. Find out the person who's in charge of that thing that you care about and make time to go meet with them. Introduce yourself. Offer to help. Buy somebody a cup of coffee. Always be looking for new and better sources that can expose you to different aspects of the business. Believe me, every minute you spend investing in people instead of checking your email is going to pay dividends your entire career. Back in the early days of Cabbage, the guy that funded our Series A investment round was someone I'd never met before. I only met this guy because someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone introduced me to this guy. You can't plan for that. You just have to put yourself out there and get into the mix and stand out from everyone you meet. Chances are the most exciting and meaningful connections you make in life won't come from your immediate circle. Whether it's a spouse or business partner, sparks happen when you go 1, 2, or 3 degrees outside of your comfort zone. We got funded because I followed up with someone 4 people removed who eventually introduced me to the right guy. I got into the mix and got lucky. And one thing I know for sure is the harder I work at meeting people, the luckier I seem to get. Number 5, you're always on deadline. When you start something, no matter how small, you've got to accomplish something real every day. Sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't do it. Constant movement and progress is what separates startups that make it from those that don't in those early fragile times. In business and in life, decisions will get you stuck in the mud faster than anything else. There are a million things you need to figure out to start a business or a new career, and there's simply never enough time to put the required amount of thought into all of them. Make decisions and move on. You often do more damage waiting than making the wrong decision and fixing it later. My friends, perfect is the enemy of done. Number 6, learn how to interview. I always tell this to my team in Atlanta. The woodpeckers inside the boat can do more damage than the storm outside. All the competitors, outside business forces, and the economic downturns combined cannot do the damage of a few toxic employees. That's why culture and team are my single biggest focus and why interviewing is so important. A candidate might be great at marketing and sales, but if they're too self-absorbed to empty the dishwasher, we don't want them. That said, at Cabbage and Roadie, I interview everybody, regardless of position, before they're hired. And I ask some pretty non-standard questions, and the same one of everyone that goes through the door. What's the worst decision you've ever made? Keep to yourself. What does your closet look like? What's your favorite cuss word? We all have interview armor on. Jamie can vouch that she heard all of these. We all have interview armor on. My job is to cut through it, and I want to see who people really are. If you don't think work is personal, you're wrong. It's a people enterprise. And when you're out there interviewing people, no matter which side of the table that you're on, let people see who you really are. Use some humor. Tough up something special, different, or crazy about yourself. If you did magic in high school, guilty. Weave it in there because you will stand out from everybody else that's saying stuff. Don't use a $10 word when a $5 word will suffice. Skills might get you in the door, but it's your personality and chemistry with the team that actually lands you the job. Another question, and for this one you can play along at home. This is my favorite interview question. What is 1/2 plus 1/3? Everyone in every position gets this question, and it's not to check up on 4th grade math skills, even though everybody in the room just went, ooh, I should get that better. If someone gets the answer immediately, it's not that much help to me. But when they don't, ooh, fun, yes. Will they shout out 4 wrong answers just to prove they can do it in their head when they obviously can't? Will they ask for a sheet of paper? How do they react when they're under just a small dose of pressure? Will they Google an answer? Will they phone a friend? I interviewed will they convert to decimal? Do they think differently? We interviewed a creative once that drew like boxes and drawings to try to do it, but she got it. At the end of the day, will they figure out how to solve a problem no matter what? I swear the handful of times that I've ignored this rule and hired somebody who blew this question, I've regretted it. You would be surprised at how many times people fail at their jobs in the exact same way that they fail at interviews. Number 7, don't be afraid to write obituaries. So while writing this, I kept thinking about all the happy themes of graduation. Success, riches, fulfillment, all lie ahead, voiced over by Dr. Seuss himself. You have the whole rest of your life in front of you. I mean, since we're among friends, don't you always have the rest of your life in front of you? I mean, really a good point. But seriously, what do you do when some of that life sucks? How do you recover from a bump in the road? How do you face obstacles with resilience in a self-directed life? How do you live by your own mind when there's so many noisy and competing voices? Y'all, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there are going to be times when your life gets off course. I don't want to be too personal here, but sometimes you wake up, realize you've gained 15 pounds, and have on the same nerdy t-shirt you were wearing 3 days ago. It's okay. It happens to everyone. The trick is only staying in that place as long as you have to and not a second longer. Don't be afraid to let something die if it's not serving you anymore. Maybe you have a shitty boss, or you're trapped in a dead-end position at work, or the one you thought you'd be with forever breaks that engagement. It's tough, it's sad, and whatever it is, it's going to feel like wading through slog just to keep your left foot and right foot moving forward. But do it. Lighten your load by getting rid of the dead weight in your life. Sometimes that's commitments of time, people, non-productive activities. Simplify. Left foot and right foot. And also make space in your life to think. It's so easy and instantly gratifying to stay glued to your email, text, and Instagram. Shoot, since I've been standing up here, some of you have typed more words with your thumbs than are in this actual speech. I get it, and I'm guilty too. But sometimes you need to put it away. Go work out, take a walk, see a movie. Sit outside and stare at the sky. You'd be surprised at how much more productive that stuff can be when you do it. Take a breath and write the obituary and move on. Number 8, remember the inverted pyramid? That one still applies, doesn't it? Okay, good. What's the most important thing in your life? The who, what, when, where, why, and how is what you need to focus on to achieve your most important goals. Anytime I have a decision to make, I ask myself, what's most important? I do this at Roadie all the time. And when put through this simple filter, questions get, well, simpler. I could tell you 100 examples of how I use this to make decisions in business, but I've sort of chosen a personal one here. In the middle of my career, I made the decision to stop starting companies for almost 7 years so I could take care of my grandmother. It was one of the best things I ever did. Mimi was 94 at the time, and while sharp of mind, fallen, broken a hip, and had some of the issues that come with age. I put my career on hold for 7 years to take care of her, to get to know her even better, make sure her great-grandkids got to know her, and to really know her firsthand. We made it so great that 1 month before she passed away, she was still out trick-or-treating in her wheelchair with my kids, in full makeup as Cruella de Vil. When she passed away at the age of 100, I was very sad but completely filled up that I'd spent my time wisely. I started Cabbage the next month. Number 9, protect your sources. This is one that has nothing to do with any career guidance, but it's simply the best lesson I've learned from raising 2 pretty awesome kids, Lily and Mills, down here in the front row. Lily's 10 and Mills is 7, and from the moment Mills was born, I asked my daughter, who do you take care of? A simple question for sure, and she wasn't sure of the answer. She was barely over 3. I explained that you take care of your brother, always.